Hey, this is the Reddit Whisper, and today we're diving into a story you won't forget. My wife's friend was supposed to come watch fireworks with us tonight, but she just texted my wife that she isn't coming because I'm a nasty person who encourages my child to be rude and disrespectful. My wife and I just had a small argument about the situation that ended with her pulling a Big Lebowski on me and saying I don't have to be wrong to be an asshole. That's true, but I think her friend is the asshole, not me. I'll tell you what happened, and you decide for us. Her friend was at our house for dinner. She's a teacher, and she complains about it constantly, about how parents are impossible to deal with, how administration is unsupportive, how everyone has an opinion on the curriculum, and how the kids never listen. I include these complaints as context for the discussion because they were relevant to her attitude that evening, and they hint at why she might have been so defensive. She told my wife she was working on her lesson plan for February and Black History Month and that she was making a fact sheet about Martin Luther King Jr. for her kids. She seemed proud of it, or had at least she wanted us to see it as impressive. Our son, who is a huge Star Trek fan, immediately perked up when she mentioned MLKJ. He said, "You should include that Martin Luther King Jr. was a Star Trek fan." In his usual excited, slightly impatient way, he's very earnest when it comes to Star Trek trivia. My wife's friend, with a very patronizing tone and expression, said, maybe he would have been if he'd still been alive when it aired. She smiled as though she was gently correcting a child, but she directed it at my son. My son, undeterred, insisted, no, he was. He used to watch it with his daughters. He spoke with that certainty only a kid obsessed with facts can muster. My wife's friend replied, he died before the show aired. I immediately corrected her. No, you're wrong. He was alive, and he did watch Star Trek with his daughters. That was when she got a little huffy and said, see, this is exactly what I mean about parents. You can't acknowledge when your child is wrong. I fired back, calmly but pointedly, no. You're a perfect example of a teacher who assumes she knows everything and can't connect with her students because she doesn't respect them. The room got tense. My wife looked between us, clearly uncomfortable, and forced the topic to change. After dessert, I couldn't let it go. I pulled up a video on YouTube where Nichelle Nichols discusses talking to Martin Luther King Jr. about Star Trek. I showed it to everyone, and my son's eyes practically lit up. He watched it, rapt, as the video confirmed everything he had said. My wife's friend asked incredulously, why couldn't you just let it lie? I told her I didn't want my son to feel like he was wrong for sharing facts he knows about his interests. She said, you don't know what it's like to be a teacher. I said, no, I don't. But I do know you're a bad one. She said, I've been in classrooms for years. You've never seen me teach. I said, I don't need to. I see how you are in your daily life. People are who they are regardless of where they are. Respect and listening aren't situational. They're universal. After that, the conversation died down, but the mood was stiff. She left soon after, and my wife texted me in frustration that I had been an asshole by bringing up the topic again after it was settled. She said I could have played the video for our son after her friend left and taught him about giving others grace and not needing external validation. She meant well, and I understand her point. Sometimes it's better to pick your battles, especially with people who are sensitive about their professional identity. But I disagree. I want our child to know that when he shares something he knows to be true, it's okay to defend it politely, even if someone else doubts him. I want him to see that standing up for what you know isn't automatically disrespectful, and that truth matters more than ego. I've been reflecting all evening on how this escalated. Was I too confrontational? Maybe. Could I have waited until after the dinner to show the video? Possibly. But I also feel that avoiding the conversation would have sent the message that adults' discomfort matters more than a child's curiosity and knowledge. My wife's friend framed her objection as concern for politeness, but it really felt like she couldn't handle being wrong in front of a kid, and I can't reward that. My wife says I'm an asshole for insisting on the truth and for letting it get tense, and maybe she's right in a superficial sense. But I also feel that her friend is the one who overreacted, turning a simple correction into a moral indictment. She left, calling me nasty and implying I raise a disrespectful child. Meanwhile, my son was thrilled that the story he knew was validated. So here's the dilemma. Am I wrong for defending our child's factual knowledge in front of an adult who misrepresented it? Or is my wife's friend wrong for trying to shame both me and our son for speaking truthfully? I've thought about whether this is really about Star Trek or Martin Luther King Jr., and I think it's bigger than that. It's about authority, respect, and how adults react when they're challenged. I want my son to feel safe questioning adults and sharing what he knows, but I also want to navigate social situations without unnecessary conflict. Tonight, it feels like I failed at the latter but succeeded at the former. I can see my wife's point, and I understand her frustration. She didn't like the tension and wants our son to learn grace. But I also feel that teaching him to accept being wrong isn't the same as letting someone else blatantly dismiss truth and facts. There's a line between teaching humility and tolerating someone undermining your child's confidence. I don't know if I crossed that line, or if the line was crossed long before dinner started. Now I'm sitting here, fireworks in the distance, thinking about what it means to be right, what it means to be an asshole, and whether those two things always have to overlap. I love my wife and I want to support her, but I also want my son to know that he can trust us to defend him, not just from danger, but from ignorance and arrogance. So, am I the asshole? Or is her friend the one who should be rethinking her behavior and her attitude toward both children and adults? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this Reddit story, check out another video and subscribe for more Daily Whispers. See you.